Brilliance Audio.
The Railway Murders by J.R. Ellis, performed by Michael Page. It was very early on a sunny Wednesday morning at the beginning of June. The dawn chorus of birdsong could be heard in the peaceful rural scene around the Wharfedale Bridge Inn in Lower Wharfedale. The sun shone through the branches of the large oak and sycamore trees that grew around the inn. Nearby, the river Wharfe ran under the medieval bridge that gave the inn its name. Some mallards were paddling in the shallows with their large brood of fluffy ducklings. A dipper stood on a mossy stone in the middle of the river, and the iridescent blue of a kingfisher flashed by. There was little sign of any human activity yet, and the road was quiet. In one of the curtained bedrooms of the inn, a woman got out of bed, leaving the man beside her still asleep. She pulled on a dressing gown and quietly left the room, closing the door carefully behind her. As she moved silently down the corridor, the door to another room briefly opened and shut again, but she didn't notice. By the time the man was finally woken up by the strong sunlight that had made its way around the side of the curtains, there was the sound of traffic going past the hotel, doors opening and closing, and voices inside and outside the building. He pulled himself up in the bed, noticing that his partner had left. He rubbed his eyes and smiled before wincing. He had the devil of a headache, and his mouth was like a birdcage bottom, as the saying went. It had been a good night. We were carousing to the second cock, he thought, quoting Macbeth to himself. And not only carousing. He glanced at the empty side of the bed again. Daniel Hayward was in his early 50s, an actor who had made many appearances in films and TV series over a 30-year career. These days, in addition to his famously dissolute lifestyle, he had developed the disaffected air of the fairly well-known actor who has never quite made it to the very top, but believes he deserved to. He often considered his current roles beneath him, feeling that he was too often typecast as the supporting character who could be pleasant or nasty, a familiar face playing parts in family and historical dramas. He hauled himself heavily out of bed. He'd put on weight in recent times, mainly due to his drinking, and padded over to the bathroom. He winced again, partly due to the headache, but also as he thought of the day ahead. He was in Wharfedale along with other actors and a film crew to shoot some scenes of a film called Take Courage, a somewhat sentimental story set in Edwardian times about a young woman who is ejected from her family home when it is inherited by a nasty uncle and has to make her way in the world alone. Unsurprisingly, she eventually finds love. What a load of crap, he thought to himself. Of course, he was playing the relatively minor role of the evil uncle. Exactly his kind of part, at least according to producers and audiences who wouldn't appreciate range if it hit them in the face. Today's scene was where the evil uncle arrives at the station and is met by his solicitor and servants from the manor. If only the locomotive would explode as it stopped at the station, obliterating the sweet heroine and the rest of the family. Then his character, Montague Lloyd, could inherit the property and not have to worry about any of them. End of story. And then all the cast could go home. Somehow he knew that the director Gerard Blake would not take the same view even if Hayward dared to suggest such a thing. He filled the bath and lowered his heavy frame into the water, trying hard not to splash it over the side. He sighed as the warm water covered him. It was a moment of bliss, but it didn't make him any more sanguine about the day ahead. The dining room at the Wharfedale Bridge was a large oak-panelled room with a stag's head over the fireplace,